What's going on, guys? Today we're back on the vehicle, and like you saw last time with the rifle, we're testing some G9 Defense. This is the 77 grain first defense round. It is a barrier blind external hollow point solid copper bullet, and it's badass. We're going to compare this to your traditional hollow point and some ball ammo and see what kind of deflection you get through vehicle glass. So one of the biggest selling features of the G9 Defense external hollow points, besides the extremely high terminal ballistics and the way they have low recoil and like rifle performance because of the velocity, is the fact that they're barrier blind. And we're gonna test that here. Now, when you're shooting through windshield glass, it's common to see deflection in the bullet. So shooting into or out of vehicle glass, especially windshield that's run at an angle, you're gonna see that bullet move from your point of aim. So what we've got here is I've got a target set up. This is gonna be my point of aim, this little black piece of tape. I'm gonna be sitting inside the vehicle, shooting out of it. And keep in mind, this is not a tactics class. Shooting from inside of a vehicle is a bad idea. You wanna get away from it in general. But if this is what's going on, this is your situation, these are the cards that you're dealt, let's look at what happens when you shoot 115 grain ball ammo. We're also gonna test out the Winchester Ranger 124 grain. And then finally wrap it up with the 77 grain first response from G9. All right, so this first shot I'm gonna take from right here, aimed in with ball 115 grain ball ammo. All right. Now, you can see, even though we're just 5 feet in front of the car, I was aiming here and we deflected about 7 inches, 6 to 7 inches away from my point of aim. So that's our 115 grain. Let's go back in and we'll shoot the hollow point. All right, now I'm gonna pick a fresh piece of glass, get the same point of aim. That's the Ranger 124 grain. And we can see we got even more deflection this time with it going about 10 inches high. And you can also see that the round is tumbling at this point. It is no longer poking a regular hole through that. So even this one's tumbled even more, and we've got a lot more deflection. Now let's go ahead and try out the 77 grain. All right, so with the 77 grain first response, we're gonna go ahead and take this shot. Again, getting a fresh piece of glass. I'm gonna aim right at that same point of aim. All right, on this one we have a little deviation here, kind of similar to the 115 grain. We're gonna put a couple more, both 115 grain ball and a couple more 77 grain. Let's start with a 77 grain. Fresh piece of glass. Fresh piece of glass. Fresh piece of glass. Ugh, gosh, I am just covered in glass at this point. That's the fun part of shooting inside of a vehicle. So we've got 1 and 2, and you can see this one tumbled for sure, but these two are still coming out in a normal pattern. So we're getting some good hits here. Still some deviation, but not as much as I'd like to see dead on, but not too bad. All right, going back to 115 grain ball, we're gonna compare that again. Since the deviation was kind of similar on the first one, we'll just go ahead and put a couple more rounds through here. So fresh piece of glass. Oh yeah, fresh piece of glass. Fresh piece of glass. Okay. Whew, covered in glass here. Now, one thing I want to show you is you're getting actually bullet fragments from the rounds impacting the glass and skipping down into the dashboard. And this is pretty common to see when you have a vehicle shooting, that you have rounds fragmenting. And when we look at the target itself, you can see the amount of deviation on here. We have chunks of bullets that are going through here. Could be some chunks of glass too, but generally chunks of bullets. You got some little pieces of jacket going up here, but the round's not staying intact. That's just 115 grain ball. 77 grain first response, we're right down in here, staying pretty close to our point of aim, point of impact. So that is one of the biggest benefits. Now what we're gonna check now is shooting into the vehicle. And in a law enforcement situation, this is becoming more and more prevalent, especially down on the border where we're having people trying to run checkpoints, people trying to run through. It's a big problem. So we're gonna test that shooting into the vehicle. All right guys, so we're gonna start off with the 115 grain ball shooting down into the passenger side here. And we moved it over to that side just because we got a nice berm on that side, so we're not risking anything. So I'm gonna aim fresh piece of glass. Okay, and let's go check what that looks like. So I aimed dead on at that target. And as you can see, we've got about, again, 4 or 5 inches of deflection because I was putting my dot right here at the top edge of the target, and we pushed all the way down. So let's go ahead and test one more round of the 115, and then we'll go on and shoot the 77 grain. All right, I got a fresh piece of glass here. And again, we got some glass splatter, but a significant drop of our point of aim, point of impact. All right, we're gonna go ahead and switch over to the 77 grain first response, see how that does. All right, got a fresh piece of glass right here. Just glass blowing back in my face, you know, no big deal. And this is beautiful. This is, you know, exactly what I expect to see here. I put my dot right here at the top edge of the target, and we hit right next to it. So let's do that again and just test it. The other thing to keep in mind too is we're not only just deflecting, you know, straight into the windshield, we're also deflecting at an angle too. So we're getting even more aggressive with what we're having to have that round do. All right, so I got it here, fresh piece of glass. And once again, you know, a little deflection with the glass, but otherwise it's dead on where we want it to go. That's what I want to see with this. Now, I know this is far from a scientific approach to this whole situation, but if having accuracy through glass is something that matters to you, this is a good option to check out. The G9 Defense, their barrier blind rounds are phenomenal. So until next time, I'm Joe Farewell. Be sure to check out g9defense.com. Drop a like, comment, follow along so you can see what else we got coming out for you, and I'll see you on the range.